Wait, are you being watched right now? You're scrolling, watching, observing everyone's life, but you never post, never comment, never share. People think you're mysterious. Some call you cold. But what if I told you that your silence reveals something powerful about your psychology? Something most people will never understand? If you're one of those invisible online people, this video is going to make you feel seen for the first time. Stick around because what I'm about to reveal about ghost scrollers will shock you. If you want to dive deeper into human psychology, dark psychology, and understanding emotions, make sure to subscribe to our channel. Let me share something fascinating about the psychology of not posting in our digital age. We're living in a world obsessed with social media, where everything gets shared. Birthdays, coffee moments, sunsets, even tears dressed up with filters. Yet some people remain completely invisible online. They're the ghost scrollers who watch silently, observe deeply, but rarely post anything. You probably know someone like this. Maybe you are someone like this. The big question everyone asks is why people don't post. Why choose to stay unseen when the whole world is screaming for attention? It's easy to assume that this social media silence comes from shyness or being an introvert on social media. But the real psychology behind it goes much deeper. There's an entire world of dark psychology and human behavior at play here. This is a quiet rebellion against a culture that's become obsessed with visibility and performance. For many people, silence isn't emptiness. It's control. It's the power to choose what the world doesn't get to know. Because let's face it, social media has completely reshaped how we define ourselves. It rewards display and praises noise. But those who stay in the shadows, they're often the ones who see everything most clearly. Here's where the psychology gets really interesting. Research shows that people who don't post frequently actually score higher on traits like emotional independence, self-restraint, and introspection. They have a strong internal locus of control, meaning their self-worth comes from within, not from external validation or likes. In the language of psychological studies, they're less influenced by social comparison. They're not trying to prove who they are to others, they're trying to understand themselves. And in a world drowning in performances, that kind of authenticity on social media, or lack of posting, is incredibly rare. Let's be brutally honest here. Most of what we post isn't just communication, it's social media performance. It's identity crafting. Every caption, every photo, every status update is basically asking, "This is who I am. Do you approve?" But when you stop posting, something powerful shifts. You detach your worth from digital applause. You stop thinking in captions and start experiencing real moments again. That's the secret psychology of not posting. These people crave authenticity on social media in a space where everything feels staged. This isn't about being anti-technology or anti-social. It's about refusing to reduce your entire life into highlight reels. When you understand how easy it is to manipulate perception online, you start valuing what can't be posted: silence, depth, imperfection, and truth. For many, the decision not to post comes after experiencing serious social media burnout. Maybe they once shared everything until one day it stopped feeling real. They realized that every time they posted something beautiful, there was invisible pressure to keep outdoing themselves. They weren't living anymore, they were performing. So they quit quietly. No dramatic announcement, just a slow disappearance from the feed. This is their personal digital detox, their way of reclaiming authenticity. But here's what's often misunderstood in this psychology. Not posting doesn't mean not feeling. It doesn't mean they don't care. Often, it means they care too much about presence, meaning, and protecting what's sacred to them. There's a concept in psychology called psychological ownership, the feeling that something belongs deeply to you. A memory, an experience, a moment. When you post it, that sense of ownership fades. The moment becomes shared property, open to judgment and misinterpretation. People who don't post are guarding their sense of ownership over life itself. They keep their moments untouchable, private, and pure. That's not sadness, crisis, it's freedom. Think about this. When was the last time you did something meaningful and didn't feel the urge to share it? That reflex, that need to display, isn't natural, it's conditioned. It's the product of a decade of likes, shares, and dopamine loops. When someone steps outside that system, it's healing. They rediscover the simplicity of doing things for themselves, cooking without photographing it, traveling without tagging it, feeling without explaining it. That's when real mental health awareness begins. But not everyone who doesn't post is coming from a place of peace. Some are driven by fear, the fear of judgment, rejection, or being misunderstood. Social media anxiety is real. Psychologists call it self-presentational pressure, the constant awareness that you're being watched, even when you're not. For many, that's exhausting. They retreat not because they don't want connection, but because the cost of visibility feels too high. They want to be seen, but only truly, not superficially. Here's where dark psychology enters the picture. Every time we post something and get attention, likes, comments, hearts, our brain releases dopamine. Over time, we begin craving that validation. We start thinking in terms of shareable experiences instead of real ones. Now imagine someone who resists that loop, someone who deliberately disconnects from the dopamine cycle. That's not disinterest, that's discipline. That takes serious psychological self-awareness. Studies show that people who take long breaks from social media often experience measurable increases in emotional independence and life satisfaction. When your identity isn't constantly being mirrored back to you through screens, it becomes solid and real. Sometimes social media silence hides exhaustion. Many people sought connection on these platforms but ended up feeling drained. There's subtle emotional fatigue from witnessing everyone's highlight reels while you're still piecing together your own behind-the-scenes reality. We've confused visibility with value. We assume that to matter, we must be noticed. But the psychology of real meaning doesn't need witnesses. Some of the most meaningful moments that shape who you are happen without a single person watching. People who don't post understand that privacy isn't loneliness, it's intimacy with yourself. When you stop broadcasting every thought, you start hearing your own again. That's profoundly spiritual in today's world. There's a quiet rebellion happening among those who choose silence. They're saying, I exist beyond your perception. They might scroll through others' lives, nodding, smiling, sometimes aching, but they rarely project. Why? Because they understand something most don't. Not everything you experience is meant to be witnessed. Sometimes the most profound things, growth, grief, transformation, happen quietly, unseen, unposted. When psychologists talk about authentic self-expression, they emphasize congruence, the alignment between who you are inside and who you show the world. But in the age of filters, that alignment is constantly distorted. So when someone chooses not to post, it's their way of staying congruent, of preserving that fragile truth between their inner and outer world. These ghost scrollers don't need everyone to see what they're feeling, to validate that it's real. They live life fully and quietly. And here's the paradox: those who live quietly often feel life most intensely. They're not distracted by the performance. They absorb details others miss. They are present. And presence is the rarest currency in a world built on attention. Their silence isn't emptiness, it's depth. It's the calm that comes from no longer needing to explain yourself to be understood. There's quiet confidence in not needing to be known by everyone, just understood by a few. And that's what understanding emotions in the digital age psychology is really about. Not every truth is meant for the crowd. Some parts of you deserve to remain untouched by algorithms and opinions. Because once something becomes public, it stops being purely yours. So the next time you notice someone who never posts, don't assume they're hiding. Maybe they're just living. Maybe they found peace in quiet corners of existence, the ones not lit by the blue glow of a screen. Maybe they've remembered what the rest of us forgot, that being unseen doesn't mean being alone, that being quiet doesn't mean being empty, that sometimes the truest expression of who you are is silence. Because in the end, we're not meant to be performances. We're meant to be people. And the people who don't post remind us of that every quiet, unfiltered, beautifully invisible online day. This is the real psychology of not posting. This is mental health awareness in action. This is what happens when you understand that your worth doesn't disappear when nobody's looking. It's still there, steady, like the hum of a quiet room after a storm. After understanding emotions and the deep psychology behind social media silence, I want to ask you something personal. Are you someone who posts everything? Or are you one of those quiet observers scrolling in silence? Maybe you're experiencing social media burnout right now. Maybe you're a ghost scroller who relates to everything we just discussed. Or perhaps you're someone who never understood why people don't post until now.